everyone. I am Eliza Sherman, the CEO of Ellementa, and this is one of our Wellness Wednesday webinars. We hold live, free online webinars with experts, authors, all kinds of interesting people about wellness, about life. And right now we're going to be talking about midlife. But you can always go to ellementa.com/events and find out all the different events. But right now, without further ado, we've got Tracy Beckerman. She is the author, of the book Lost in Suburbia. Actually, a couple of books. So Tracy, I'm going to turn it over to you. If you can introduce yourself to everyone who's watching and talk about first your books, because you have more than one book. Correct?
I do. Yes.
Right.
Hi, I'm Tracy. I am, originally from New Jersey, but they kicked me out because I didn't have big hair. So, but we actually raised our kids in New Jersey and just recently moved back to New York City and then fled the city because it's not such a great place to be right now. Ooh. So we went north and now, and we're like in the woods, and instead of worrying about getting the coronavirus, I'm worried about being mauled by a bear.
Ooh,
but I still sound like I'm from New York, don't I? Mauled
by the bear.
I want to get mauled after I have my coffee and walk the dog. So yeah, I've written a couple of books. Well, I started out as a columnist, a humor columnist, which I still do. And the column runs across the country. And it was all about being a young mom in the suburbs and raising my kids there. And then from that, I wrote a book called Rebel Without a Minivan, which was a collection of my early columns about trying to fit in the suburbs, being a city girl. And from there, I went to Lost in Suburbia, a Momoir, how I lost myself and got my cool back in the New Jersey suburbs. And that's sort of like the backstory to the columns, kind of like how I got there and, you know, how I got back to being the person that I kind of was before I had my kids and lost myself, my cool, my identity, everything. So I did Lost in Suburbia for about 2 years. 2 years, listen to me. That's what I don't know if that's I don't know if that's midlife brain fog or like coronavirus brain fog. I wrote that column for 20 years. And then last summer, after we'd moved to the city, my newspaper editor said, "You're not really Lost in Suburbia anymore, are you?" And I was like, "No." And she says, "You're not really a young parent anymore, are you?" And I was like, "No." She says, "So maybe it's time to transition your column." And that's where the idea for Lost in Midlife came from.
So is it a column yet? Is it going to be a column? Is it a book?
All of the above and none. Okay. So the column, when it ran in the newspapers, was called Lost in Suburbia. And then we decided to still run that column as reprints. So it's now called Lost in Suburbia Classics. And that's for any women who are new moms who might have missed me the first time around, you know, so I can live on in perpetuity for that. And then the new columns that I'm writing, I'm not calling anything. It's just like, you know, today my dog barfed by Tracy Beckerman, which I've written several times.
Oh, poor dog.
He goes outside, he eats like disgusting things, and you know, that's what happens. But I did use Lost in Midlife for my newsletter, and then decided to start a Facebook group called Lost in Midlife. And it just like exploded because all of a sudden, all these women who sort of felt invisible, you know, like, oh, I've hit 50 or 45 or 50 or 60 and nobody is promoting to me anymore, marketing to me, talking to me, counting me and thinking I'm sexy. And I said, you know what, we really need like a humor site to give all of these ladies something to laugh about, because the whole process of entering middle age is so unfunny. You have to find the humor in it.
Yeah, you have to laugh to survive.
Yeah.
So let's kind of backtrack a little bit, because I definitely want this to have a lot of focus on midlife. A lot of the women that we reach through Ellementa and the work that I do are 35 plus, mostly women 40s, 50s plus. Not that women in their 20s can't enjoy this or find the humor. But going back to Lost in Suburbia, you just said something that I think is really powerful. and I think it's a recurring theme in women's lives, and that's losing identity.
Yeah.
So I had that same experience. First of all, I had 4 miscarriages, and then my 5th pregnancy is my daughter, who's now 13. But I tried and tried and tried, and I, overachiever. How could I not be successful at having a baby? And finally had a baby. And then my reaction was, what in the heck was I thinking? I mean, I lost my identity. Who am I? Am I really a mom? Like, what in the world does that mean? So that just resonated with me when you said that. Talk to me a little bit more about your struggles with identity at that early stage, and then we'll kind of move forward into.
Sure. Yeah, well, I think it obviously, a lot of women going through the same thing identified, because all of a sudden my column got, very popular, and a lot of women were like, oh, can we meet for coffee? I feel the same way. I'm like, well, I'm syndicated, you live in Wisconsin, and I'm in New York, so maybe not coffee this week. But there was a relatability to it. And I think, especially for women who invest a lot into building a career, and then, they have this whole like plan. I'm going to have the kids, I'm going to be home for 3 months, I'm going to get a nanny and go back to work. And then after the baby's born, it's all like, I just,
I'm glad you said as opposed to it's all like, ooh, because it was.
No, I don't know anybody who was like, ooh. I mean, I didn't even get out of my slippers for a month, because my feet were still swollen from having given birth to a very large child baby. But I was one of those people who had really like killed people off on the ladder ahead of me so that I could, get to the top of my industry. I was writing and producing promos for TV news. And ironically, they called me the Queen of Fear, because all the promos I would do would be like, tonight at 11, could your dry cleaners be killing you? And I didn't think I had a funny bone in my body. And then all of a sudden I became a mom, and I started to, sort of see the humor in parenting. And that's what saved me, because when I decided to stay home with my kids, first one kid, and then, the other one came along. At first I thought, this is the greatest, society tells you this is the greatest thing you can do for your child, is be a full-time mom and give them everything that you have to give to them and everything. And so, but then I would go to a party and talk to people, and they'd say, what do you do? I said, oh, I'm a stay-at-home mom. And they'd be like, oh, right. And then
yeah.
like I would have nothing to talk about except dirty diapers and wipes. So, and I internalized that, I had so much of my identity caught up in what I did for a living. When you meet people, it's like, hi, what's your name? What do you do? Right? It's always like the first or second question. So for me to say, well, I was doing a lot of used to be's. Well, I used to be a TV producer, and now I would say, but now I'm a stay-at-home mom. And then I would get it's nice.
Hey, do you know, by the way, in other countries, they do not start conversations with, so what do you do? It's all kinds of other just really lovely things. And I even had somebody come up to me and say, so what are you passionate about? As a starter. But here in the States, we're so wrapped up in our careers.
We are. So, and then I felt really guilty, because here I am, I'm fortunate enough to be able to stay home with my kids full time. A lot of women have to go back to work. They don't have that choice. And so then I was like, oh, look at me. I'm feeling so sorry for myself, but I have this beautiful gift to stay home with my kids when they're really young. So then I felt doubly worse. And then, like I said, I sort of started to come out of this funk, which may have even been postpartum depression. I have no idea, because this was 25 years ago, and we weren't so quick to, say that
nobody talked about it.
Right. And something funny happened with my son when he was in kindergarten, and I just sat down and wrote about it. And I don't know what prompted me, but I sent it into the local newspaper, and they said, we'd like to run this. Do you have any more? And I'm like, more what, kids? And they're like, no, more columns. I'm like, oh, is that a column? I mean, I was just so clueless. And they said, yeah. And I said, oh, sure, I got plenty of stuff. And all of a sudden with that, I started to really see all of the humor in parenting. And not only did I sort of launch a new career for myself, which was completely compatible with raising kids at home, because I could do it while they were in school. And then if they were sick, okay, I won't write today. or, you know, if there were after school activities, it's like, okay, I'll get it done before we have to do that. But completely lost my train of thought because I'm 55.
So you got the column, it suddenly became a column.
So it was one of these things where as I'm writing about what's funny, I start to enjoy parenting more, you know?
Maybe.
So it was sort of like, it worked on a bunch of different levels.
Well,
Okay.
I think that writing it out, journaling, in your case, writing professionally, it can be very therapeutic. It can help you process a lot of what's going on with yourself.
Well, when I first started doing this column, it was before what they call the mommy blogger population explosion. And so women didn't really have a place to turn to see that other women were kind of going through the same thing. You know who the original mommy blogger was Irma Bombeck. She was the first woman, she was the first woman to really write the truth about what's going on at home and how you feel. And she did it with a lot of humor, a lot of G-rated humor, which was really nice. And she was very relatable. And she also talked about the hardships. And that's where sort of this void was after she left, and the internet was kicking in and the blogs were starting, and all of a sudden all these moms are coming forward saying, yes, this is really hard and I don't know who I am and my clothes are covered in disgusting things and what happened to me.
Yep. Interesting. So let's transition now to midlife. How old are your kids, and what are the kinds of things you've been thinking about and talking about in terms of midlife?
So I've got, my daughter is 22, almost 23, and my son is 24, almost 25. I can't even believe that. You know, there are times where I think I'm like, I'm 25, but I have a 25-year-old kid. No, I don't ever actually really feel 25, maybe like 45, you know, if I didn't pull a muscle putting my socks on that morning or something.
Well, you look like 30s at the moment.
Oh, thank you. I have like this special lighting filter set up.
That's what I need.
And I keep my hair really short so you don't see as much of the gray.
Oh, I keep mine long so you see all of it.
It's very pretty on you.
Thank you.
So you and I are ahead of the curve right now, because all these women who are home right now and can't color their hair, we're just like, not a problem.
Yeah, exactly. I just did a picture and said, I can't cut my hair either.
Wow.
So it's really getting long.
We are on opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah. So tell me then, midlife, what has that meant to you?
So I didn't really feel midlife until my kids left. You know, there was like this very distinct sort of turning point when they were both out of the house and they both had jobs. And it was really dramatic, because they both happen at once. Like you slowly start into that when they go off to college, but then they come home for long periods of time. For a lot of moms right now, it's for a very extended period of time. But my kids didn't just, sorry about the beeps in the background. I don't know how to turn those off.
I don't hear them. What are they?
Oh, they're alerts telling me, you know. That...
Yeah, we don't hear them.
Okay,
You're good. You're good. You're not beeping. Don't worry about it. Okay, midlife.
So they didn't just like, you know, get their own apartment in the next town or something. They really moved far away. I live in New York. My daughter moved to Miami. My son moved to Los Angeles. Wow. And I'm not saying they did this to get away from me.
Of course not.
But I think that, you know, they just had the job opportunities and they went. But it wasn't kind of like, oh, let's get together for dinner Saturday night because I miss you. I mean, this is like, wow, maybe we can all get together in Zoom or, you know, FaceTime on Saturday. So that was the first thing that was really dramatic. And then my husband said, well, as long as the kids are gone now, why don't we sell the house and move back into the city and have fun? And I'll be closer to work and everything. And I said, oh, that sounds like a really good idea, until we did it. And then it was like, wait, I don't have my house. I don't have my kids. You know, I'm living in a furnished apartment because we hadn't quite settled on where we were going to be yet. And I just felt like everything that kind of had me centered was gone. And that's when I started to notice some of the physical aspects of aging, you know, like the chin hair thing. Like, I don't understand this. It's like I'm losing hair on my legs, but I'm growing it out of my chin. This doesn't make any sense to me. And my triceps just dropped, you know. It was all of a sudden, it's like, I didn't know there was going to be gravity there. You know, I was thought if I was on a plane and it was going down, I could just like, you know, coast sort of like a bird down to Florida. and other things like wrinkly knees. It's like knees are never pretty to begin with, but all of a sudden mine just like, you know, started to look like elephant knees. And like, this is what aging is? Nobody told me about this. This isn't fair. And then there's like, you know, menopause, obviously, hot flashes, night sweats, none of which, well, I have the night sweats and the hot flashes, but I'm not in menopause yet. I've decided that I'm going to be the eternally menstruating woman until I'm like 85, and I wear Depends and sanitary pads at the same time.
Oh my God. Wait, so how old did you say you were again?
I'm 55.
I'm 55 too.
Yeah,
all right, but I've been in full menopause for 6 years.
Well, I keep waiting, but it's like every month. Hello.
Oh my
So
God.
and I'm so sick of. I'm like, I've named my ovaries Jezebel and Medusa because they're just so evil. It's like, girls, it's time to quit. You know, go retire at Century Village in Florida, because we just, you know, my eggs are so old that when they like come out each month, they need a walker to get down my fallopian tubes. It's like, this kitchen's closed. There is no reason you need to keep doing this. But my doctor keeps saying to me, oh, it's so great. You still get your period. You know, it's good for your bones and you're good for your hair. I'm like, oh, it's not good for my mood.
Yeah, I can imagine. So you said that your column is not called Lost in Midlife, that you're just now writing about all kinds of different things.
Yeah.
But is there another book in the works?
There is. Oh, I forgot to talk about that, didn't I?
No, that's okay. Hey, I will always remind you, especially when I have authors on, I always want to make sure to plug their books.
Thank you. I actually have sort of 3 books on deck. In chronological order of me writing them, the first one is a book about a trip to Africa that I took with my family. That was very eye-opening and therapeutic and transformative, and, you know, kind of all of those things. And a very, it was a physical journey. It was a spiritual journey. I mean, I hate to say like a eat, pray, love kind of thing, but that's kind of what it was. But I decided, along with my agent, that it wasn't the right time for that book yet, because the last book I put out was Lost in Suburbia, about being a young parent. And all of a sudden I jump ahead like to all of these years later for a serious book about this trip. And she's like, you need something to transition from one book to the next. So that's when I came up with the idea about the book called Lost in Midlife. And it's about transitioning from, you know, young mom to older mom, from suburbs to the city, and kind of losing my identity all over again. Yeah. And also about suddenly realizing that if you look at life in thirds, that I'm in the last third. And that was really sobering and freaked me out.
Oh yeah, they call it the third act.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't like that. I decided that life is in fourths, and I'm in the third fourth right now. So that made me feel a little bit better. Okay. But anyway, so I've been writing this book, Lost in Midlife, and it's going really well. But I saw that this book was going to take a little longer to get out than I had thought, because I'm writing it as I'm living it. So I decided, in the meantime, I'm going to do a downloadable ebook, which is about my life with dogs, because everybody loves dogs except people who have cats. And and that one is being edited right now. So that one, hopefully in the next couple of months.
So my life with dogs, tell me a little bit more about that, because I am a dog lover and our family has 4 dogs. So tell me more.
Well, the book is called My Dog Wears Boxer Shorts, because he couldn't handle the cone of shame. He just was paralyzed. He wouldn't turn or walk in any direction. We had to come up with something else for him to wear while he was recuperating from, you know, the procedure that they have when they're younger.
That one.
Yeah, that one. So I asked the vet, you know, he's petrified of this cone of shame. And even though it's great for us, because if we point him at the satellite dish, we get better TV reception, it's not really working for him. So the vet said, well, you could try putting boxer shorts on him and just pull his tail out through, you know, the pee hole. And we did that. And the dog just loved the shorts, got really upset when we took them off him. Aww. And all of a sudden I had this dog walking around all the time who just wanted to wear boxer shorts. It was pretty bizarre, but it fit right in with our family, I must say. So it's the story of how we went from just having 2 kids to having a dog, a bearded dragon, a chinchilla, a revolving toilet of goldfish that died, It's basically the Beckerman Zoo, and it goes in sync with my kids getting older, because we raise the dog and the pets with the kids, and then at the end everybody's gone and we get another dog. But there is that same kind of give up that you have to do when you lose. I mean, I'm not going to equate losing a pet with your kids growing up and moving away, but there was another loss there, and it was just a series of losses. So this book is sort of helping me to at least kind of focus on a little bit of that loss and midlife transition through the pets that we've had. But it's mostly funny.
Okay. Good, because we have to laugh.
Yeah.
Tell us how you're handling this time. So I don't know when people will end up watching the recording of this. It could be weeks from now, months from now, even years from now. But for those who might be watching years from now, since this is going to be the time capsule, we are in the middle of a pandemic.
By the time they watch this years from now, we'll be in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, there we go. There we will. And none of us have experienced anything like this in our lifetime. And how do you stay sane?
Even my parents haven't experienced this in their lifetime, and they're in their 80s. Just as a side note, my mom is 82, and she tells me she's still lost in midlife, which leads me to believe that, the average lifespan is going to be 165 at some point, or so she thinks. Yeah. But so that we have that to look forward to. So this time has been weird, sad, upsetting, so many things. Surrealistic, I think. Surreal is really the biggest word I would come up with, because it just doesn't, I watch the news at night, and it's just so hard to fathom how many people this has affected and how this has changed our universe in so many ways. We moved to New York City because we love to go to the theater and to go to concerts and eat dinner out. And my husband said to me recently, when should we go back to the city? And I said, I don't know. Everything we moved there for is gone right now. And it made me really, really sad. I mean, I love where we are right now. And I'm naturally, believe it or not, a real introvert. So I'm used to being alone. I've always worked from home since the kids were born. I'm ready to kill my husband. Never realized, how much space he takes up when he's working.
I'm hearing that from a lot of women who have been working from home for years, but the husband has always, or the partner has always been working outside of the home, and suddenly they're both working in the same space, usually in the same room.
Yeah.
Challenging.
Yeah, well, I mean, here is better than our apartment. Our apartment's all just like one floor, 3 rooms, that's it. And I want privacy, I have to go to the bathroom or maybe hide in the closet. Here, we have 3 floors. It's like a triplex condo. And so I can be on the top floor, he can be on the bottom floor. We don't even hear each other. And then I come downstairs and I look at the mess and I go, because I'm used to my space being like really neat and clean. But we're doing okay. The one thing that's really killing me right now is cooking every single meal. It's like I've totally run out of things to make. So now when he says, so what are we having for dinner? I say, it's a surprise. And he'll be like, well, what is it? I said, I don't know. It's a surprise to me too.
Yeah, that has been tough for sure. Everyone talks about Groundhog Day, the movie.
Yeah.
And just sort of the repetition. It's you wake up and it's the same old thing. You wake up and it's again the same old thing. I'm wondering about our identities, because I think that's a thread through what you have been writing about and talking about. And now with what we're all going through, how do you think that's going to change our identities as women, as moms?
Well, not knowing how this whole thing is going to shake out yet, it's hard to be able to project how it's going to affect my identity. Yeah. I will tell you, the thing that I've really noticed throughout this is how strong so many women have been in taking care of their family, in taking care of other people, in taking care of their states and their communities if they're in positions of leadership. And other countries doing the same. And it's almost like, you know, and this is maybe a really weird thing to say, but it's almost like it's the women's moment right now. We are taking sort of that innate nurturing skill and also that leadership power we have, and we're putting those things together and doing just absolutely amazing things. And I'm so encouraged by that. And I hope that that's something that continues, you know, when we get to the other end of this, whether that means a vaccination or whatever it's going to be. And from that, I've begun to feel really empowered. You know, there was a time between when the kids left and we moved and everything where I just felt like I was kind of fading, like I was on the downturn. Yeah, I'm still writing and everything, but now it's my daughter's world, right? And seeing so much of this female strength has just lifted me up. And that was one of the things that actually encouraged me to start this Facebook group, Lost in Midlife, because I wanted a place where women could all come together and feel each other's strength. Mostly through laughter, but there's a lot of support there. There's a lot of people who are feeling really alone, and to be in a place where you feel that sense of community, even if you're by yourself, I thought was a great thing to be able to offer people.
I agree. And for anyone who does watch this later, we are filming on Earth Day. I think it's interesting. I've seen a lot of photos of how pollution is dissipating, and how this is almost a time for the earth to heal.
It's like a reset.
Like Mother Earth is, for better or for worse for the rest of us, Mother Earth is having a chance to heal. But I do see what you're saying about women and strength, and there's a lot going on out there. So everyone who's watching live, or everyone who's going to be watching by recording, stay safe. Hope everyone is well. Tell us how we can find you again. First of all, how do we find your Facebook group?
Okay, so it's very easy. You go to facebook.com/groups/Lost in Midlife.
Perfect. Easy enough.
And there I am.
And there you are.
I also have a Facebook page where I make announcements about things that are going on with me career-wise. If you want to buy a book or come listen to this podcast, or I guess we're a Zoom interview.
Whatever you want to call it.
I can't keep track of things anymore. The last time I asked my kids if they were on TikTok, and they're like, TikTok, Mom.
Are you on it, by the way?
No, I don't even know how to use Snapchat. I'm so far behind, but I'm better than my parents, because when I call my parents to FaceTime them, all I see is the ceiling fan, because they don't have no idea how to like hold it and talk like this. It's just like, hi Trey, how you doing? I'm looking up your nose. Anyway, the Facebook page is called the Lost in Suburbia fan page, because we haven't moved that quite over to me yet. I have a website called tracybeckerman.com. I'm on Instagram as Tracy in Midlife.
Oh, okay.
So everything's sort of kind of moving over. I'm on Twitter is at Tracy Beckerman. Apparently I have a Wikipedia page now, which is kind of fun.
Neat.
I'm like, really? That's the picture you chose? Yeah, pretty much if you Google Tracy, Lost in Suburbia, any of that, you'll find my columns online, blog posts, all of that stuff. I'm everywhere.
Fantastic. Tell us again your books, and when is this downloadable book about dogs going to be available?
Okay, so the books that you get right now are Rebel Without a Minivan, Observation on Life in the Burbs, and the other one is Lost in Suburbia, a Momoir, How I Got Pregnant, Lost Myself, and Got My Cool Back in the New Jersey Suburbs. I know it's a mouthful, right? They're both on Amazon, so you can easily get them there, downloads or paperback or whatever it is that you prefer. The dog book, My Dog Wears Boxer Shorts, I'm thinking about 2 months, depending on how much I can stop looking at social media every day and finish them.
Quick question about that book. The idea of an ebook, how did that come about? Is it going to be a free ebook? Is it a for purchase ebook?
It will be for purchase, but it won't be very expensive. Because I'm self-publishing it, I wanted to get it out fast. Because I feel like, look, everybody's at home looking for something to do, needing a laugh. I really wanted to get this out there to them. And if you go the traditional publisher route, it'll take a year. So if you do it yourself, you're not going to have the same kind of distribution that you would have if you use a traditional publisher, but you can get it out really quickly. So doing this with the help of some friends who are in the business. And that one should be downloadable quickly, hopefully by June 1st.
Oh, good. Okay, excellent. Well, I really thank you for being here. This has been a lot of fun. It's good to have a laugh. As you said, you have to keep your sense of humor. Any parting thoughts of wisdom for the folks watching this?
Okay, whether it is a coronavirus or a chin hair, whatever is going on that is aggravating, if you can find, and I know it's really hard with something serious like a pandemic where people are actually dying, but if you can find some humor in whatever's going on in your life, embrace that, because laughter really is the best medicine. Thank you so much for having me on here. I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you. I appreciate it too. All right. If you are interested in meeting some other super cool women like Tracy Beckerman, please tune in to Ellementa.com/events, where we list all of our upcoming Wednesday and Sunday webinars. If you happen to be watching this live, it's the 22nd of April, tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern Time. I never know which one it is. We are having something about pain, anxiety, and how cannabis and CBD can help with Dr. Bridget Williams. All right. Thanks so much again, Tracy. Thanks everyone for hanging out with us today. This has been a good break from the crazy that's out there.
Thank you.
You.